Hello, and welcome to the MMOScholar's Fire Mage Guide. With the great response to our Arcane Guide, I decided that I should throw a Fire Guide up as well to help any struggling Fire Mages. I'll be using the same format as our Arcane Guide, beginning with stat priority, moving into rotation, then discussing common concerns with Fire. Starting with stat priority, Intellect is by far our strongest stat, followed by Hit to Cap. After Hit, we have Haste, Crit, and much later Mastery. Haste was shown to be a much better stat in 4.06, and many players had speculated that with the changes to Ignite, this would change back to Crit being dominant. This just isn't the case. While Crit is certainly a strong stat, Haste is still superior, with Mastery falling even further behind after 4.1. To recap, the stat priority is Intellect, Hit to Cap, Haste, Crit, and Mastery. Unlike with Arcane, where Intellect is by and far the best stat, Int is generally closer to 2 times Haste, meaning gemming for 10 Intellect socket bonuses is beneficial, unlike gemming for Arcane. Let's move into the Fire Mage rotation. As a Fire Mage, you have 3 main priorities in your rotation: keeping Living Bomb up and Flame Orb on cooldown, maintaining the critical mass debuff, and never stopping your casting. Fire Mages are blessed with the ability to cast while moving, and this should be abused at all times. Every global cooldown on an entire fight should be used as a Fire Mage. I'll start discussing Living Bomb by saying you don't want 100% uptime. Since we want Living Bomb to explode before reapplying and we never want to stop casting, 100% uptime simply isn't possible. Ideal uptime would be much closer to somewhere in the range of 98%. This means you should never stop a cast to refresh Living Bomb, but as soon as it has fallen off, it should always be the first thing you refresh. With the critical mass debuff now being applied to Pyroblast, you generally don't have to give it much thought. But if it does fall off, weaving a Scorch into your rotation is a DPS increase for your entire raid. Many mages are confused by the optimal time to use combustion and how to make sure they get the best combustions they can off. The simplest answer to when to use combustion is simply off cooldown. The how to get the best ones off question is the more difficult side of things. With the changes to Ignite in 4.1, it's now much easier to make sure you have a strong Ignite for your combustion. The 2 main factors going into combustion are Living Bomb and Ignite. The Pyroblast dot only contributes about 10% of a combustion's damage, so while nice, Pyroblast isn't required on the target to use combustion. Once your combustion is off cooldown, you're looking for a few things. Number 1 is Trinket procs. Why? Because during Trinket procs, that's when you're going to get the hardest hitting fireballs and Pyroblasts landing, meaning larger ignites and in turn more combustion damage. The second thing you're looking for is that big crit. Once you see that large crit land with Living Bomb already up on the target, that's when you want to combust, combining that large ignite damage with a strong Living Bomb from your Trinket procs. The main concern for Fire has been Ignite munching for quite some time. For those of you who don't know what Ignite munching is, it's when 2 crits land simultaneously and one of the crits' Ignite damage is lost. With the removal of damage over time abilities proccing Ignite, the only time you'll see significant Ignite munching is when you throw a hot streak pyro with a fireball and both simultaneously crit, losing the Ignite damage from the fireball. A key part of maximizing your damage as Fire lies in multi-dotting. On fights with several targets, multi-dotting becomes a key part of the Fire Mage playstyle. Fights like the Twin Dragons, Ascendant Council, Cho'Gall, Omnitron Defense System, and others all lend themselves amazingly to multi-dotting. The method I use for multi-dotting involves focus macros. This allows me to always be able to see when my Living Bomb is going to fall off on multiple targets at the same time. The macros I personally use can be found on our forums at MMOScholar.com. Please direct all comments, criticism, or suggestions to our blogs and forums at MMOScholar.com. This guide was brought to you by Zythian of Vigil. One-on-one consulting is also available through our website. If you want to maximize your DPS, head over to our website and we can get your DPS where you want it to be together. I hope you enjoyed this guide and good luck to all the Fire Mages out there. Mage Power.